Yo, what's up, everybody? We're back. We're back. We're back. We took a week off.
What?
I know. Who takes breaks? All of our 10 listeners were like, what? I actually had one person on the Discord be like, where's Pod? I'm like, bruh, life happened.
Yeah, it's been a
the,
busy week.
the plan is
Weeks.
to catch up. We're gonna get this caught up and we'll be able to make this weekly soon. We're doing this one late again as well, but it's just been wild. ACLs this weekend. I'm super excited. It kicks off today.
Sure.
But you know what happens when you take 2 weeks off, Ready?
A ton.
A ton. So we're probably gonna like break apart everything over this last couple of weeks. There's been a lot of games coming out. We've made really great progress on the YouTube. I'm your host Brian. I'm here as always with the man Freddie, and I think we're just gonna jump right into this. But before we do, Freddie, what do the people need to do? What do they need to do?
Folks, listen. I've told you this before. I'll tell you again. Please subscribe. Please follow us everywhere the podcast is, are, and will always be. Brian is a couple. What's your what's the
I'm at
subscriber number now?
970. We are so close.
970, folks. We need 30 more. The next 30 people that
Get hugs, virtual
get
hugs.
hugs, virtual. But yes, I mean we're close, but we're
We
on
are.
literally every platform from Google to Apple to Amazon. So just take the time to follow,
Click the
subscribe,
buttons.
click the buttons, give us stars, all the stars. Um, that'd be great. Thank you guys.
All right. This is episode 7.
Actually, clicked them
Sony.
all.
Oh, whoops! I let that run too far, y'all. All right. Okay. Like, look, there's obviously been a lot of news. There's a lot of stuff happening up in the world, but I mean, this whole podcast, I really just want to hear because I've only seen the articles, but this is what I know. Let me pull up the article. What I know is
article
PlayStation. I already had it up. Okay, that's how prepared I am.
All right.
PlayStation CEO Jim Ryan resigns because he is tired of traveling. It's got to be the weirdest resignation. Look, I'm really tired of traveling, and the constant stress of travel is making me want to quit. So I know that happened. And then following this, I travel too much resignation, all of a sudden I started seeing articles like this one: Last of Us live service game development allegedly on hold for PlayStation 5, Horizon in development live service game on hold indefinitely. I mean, and so on and so forth. So Freddie, what's going on, dude? What the hell is happening?
Well, you missed. There's something that kind of went under the radar that also happened prior to Jim Ryan leaving, which was Sony had another breach. It wasn't nearly as big as a breach they had in 2010, I believe. I don't remember exact date.
Oh, the data
Um,
breach? Sure.
yeah, so there was a data breach within Sony by some sort of ransom hackers or whatever.
I'm pulling it up right
And that
now.
happened.
Says the company
So
sent the data breach notification to 6,800 individuals, confirming that intrusion occurred after an unauthorized party exploited a 0-day vulnerability in the Move It transfer platform.
So it's not a mass. It's not millions. It's
Right.
under 10,000, but still, it's another breach. And I think what happened was this is kind of speculation, but I think what happened was development's not going well. I think Bungie came in and said this is all garbage. These are not going to last. I mean, the one thing that Bungie does do well is they make games that last decades,
Forever.
right? Destiny and Halo have been around for ever at this point. And a service as a gaming as a service, you have to have the bones. If you don't have the bones, then it's not going to last. So that's the issue. I think they went in and they're just these are studios that are not known for making multiplayer,
Right.
and so you have The Last of Us making a multiplayer. Bungie comes in and says this is terrible. put in hiatus. The creative director leaves, right? Then you have Horizon, not sustainable, not going to last more than a year. Player count's not going to be high. Um, and so I think the Sony higher ups were like, "What are you doing? Like you're taking all these teams that have created these first party narrative, games,
Yeah, and trying to turn into
and
live
you're
service.
yeah, the live service thing is just, and it's also slowly dying. There's just too many of them. Player count is not nearly as high.
Oh,
You
dude.
know.
Like, I mean, like, oh my God, the layoffs, Epic. Didn't the Last of Us studio
Yep.
layoffs?
Everybody,
Naughty Dog?
everybody but Microsoft has laid off everybody, folks. Um,
Let me see this.
Not
Yeah,
nearly as many.
Last of Us Studios cutting developers.
Yeah, I mean, because they're not making a new narrative game, right? They're making these live service games, and these are really well crafted games made for, they make these really well crafted narrative games that are visually stunning and
Right.
feel but the pivoting, has not, I have not in my lifetime, I have not seen a team that has done that very well and then
Right.
transitioned to a gaming as a service or even multiplayer, right? I mean, you do what you know. So I think that's the issue. I think they ended up you know biting off too much, to chew. 10 live
And now,
service
yeah.
games,
Yeah, and
and
everybody's paying for it.
and they really don't have that many studios to develop 10, right? Like Bungie
So
could probably
in
do
total
2.
too, not just them, but it's saying so one of the first layoffs of 2023 that was possibly the biggest. This is Microsoft, and Bloomberg reported that Microsoft was cutting 28,000 jobs, 10,000 of which would come from the company's gaming branch. This
Yeah,
is probably a lot of it's 343.
that's
343
343.
Industries
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Bethesda's ZeniMax were among the companies affected. According to the
yeah,
reports at the time, 343 was, we already know this, was hit so
yeah.
badly that the studio would transfer from developing Halo games to merely overseeing them.
Yep.
However, a 343 industry spokesperson later denied those claims. We don't need to get into that, but I mean, like, obviously Halo is not where it needs to be, so it's not a
Right.
surprising thing. As 2023 continued, EA sacked around 800 employees mere weeks after reporting huge profits. In May, Relic Entertainment announced via Twitter it's letting go of 121 developers. Team 17 lost a significant chunk of its quality assurance team. FireAxis let go of 30 employees. While this is like, honestly, it's a rather large breadth of people across the entire development side, which is wild. And then
So just to put this stuff in context, a lot of these layoffs are for folks that are contractors. That's
is
that's
that
the
what it
luxury
is?
of luxury of having contractors, right? So you hire them. Excuse me. You hire them to develop these, to come in and develop these games for 2-3 year contracts. If the game succeeds, you may be pulled into other projects, but that's what a lot of these layoffs are. I mean, I
Oh,
have to
you're right.
confirm,
No, you're right.
but
According to Kotaku sources for Naughty Dog, Naughty Dog's art, production, and quality assurance divisions were impacted, but most, if not all, of the laid off employees didn't work at the studio full time.
yeah, it's contractors because it's the labor laws are different, right? As a contractor,
Gotcha.
they pay you more, but you don't get the same. You're kind of like yeah. Anyways, so
However, the surprise one, Epic Games laid off 830 employees, approximately
after a record,
16%
yeah,
of its workforce.
record profits,
What the hell
record
happened
profits.
there?
I mean, it's because so during COVID, I'm telling you right now, a lot of development, to the engine, a lot of development to the in-house games. They had to hire more people to get the same amount of work done because COVID
Right.
kind of. So this is the leftover stuff from COVID.
You're probably right. According to CNN, the CEO stated the company was spending way more money than they can earn. And that explanation sent a clear and haunting message to many. If Epic's revenue and success weren't enough to prevent the company from turning to mass layoffs, then who can truly feel safe? And you know what,
Yeah,
dude? I still
it's
think that's
nonsense.
also just tied to, like, Epic's money is Fortnite. Like, I just think, I mean, it's not all the
Fortnite
money.
and
It's
the
not all the money.
engine
And the engine. But there's clearly something going on with live service. And
Well,
and
but
and the developmental costs of that, probably the developmental cost of games. this is like, maybe this is what this conversation develops into, because I was talking
Well,
to
it's
a
just
community member recently,
yeah.
who is all about waiting. Who's all about waiting to buy games, which I get it. And then there's been a lot of complaints about the $70 video game too. But I,
$78,
or the new cost, the new cost of next gen games.
$69.99 plus taxes. Yeah.
I mean, like, maybe developmental cost is just insane. I mean, we're not where we used to be, or there's
I
too
think
much. There's just too much, and
that's nonsense. I'm going to tell
that's
you
nonsense.
that's
Okay.
complete. Yeah, it's nonsense. The way I think we're still reeling from the COVID years, right? So during COVID, prior to COVID, studios had everybody within their own infrastructure, right? So like
Okay.
you're all
Yeah.
in
Right.
one building, you're
Right.
able
Right.
to do
Right.
all this stuff
In
all in real
office.
time. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're able to track everything. And then once you go to remote, right? Once COVID happened, everybody went to remote. They had to hire more people to get the same amount of work done
I
initially,
see what you're
right?
saying. Yeah.
And so as time goes by, obviously they did a massive revamp like for Epic, for example. They did a massive revamp for Fortnite, right? They did the new Unreal Engine update and then they created the new Unreal Engine. They helped create that Matrix they made that Matrix demo. Like a lot of that stuff happened during COVID. And
Right.
so
And
now
now the
they
job's
don't have
done.
yeah,
So
the job's done, and that's probably most of these studios that are doing layoffs outside of like the few that had failing projects. I think that's kind of how you have to approach it: is what happened in the
it's a good
last
point.
3 years.
I didn't think about that. And like
Yeah,
structural changes and the
yeah,
infrastructure you needed to build the work from home. And what are
right.
we 3 years out now of COVID?
Yep,
So like
yep.
people know
We're
how to
going
do
on
this
4.
now. Like the pipeline is in. So now you're probably looking at your numbers and being like, okay, like we don't need these 100 employees anymore.
Right. I mean, it's also the United States as a whole has upgraded their infrastructure, right? Like
Yeah,
you
but
and
do
I
you
both
think
have
the
fiber.
amount of games too that we're playing catch up on is playing into that too? Because like you had like that. I mean, I feel bad for them, but because Immortals of Avium wasn't a bad game, but like that development team 40% cut. But I mean, like Lord, it just in
Yeah, I
terms
think
of
that's the EA effect. But I think if you
that's
look at
the EA
games,
effect.
generally, games are, they're record sales, right?
That's true.
You have, I mean, it's not like these games are not being bought. Um, we'll see with Sony's Spider-Man, right? But you look at from the very beginning of the year, Hogwarts record sales. Then you
It's so
have
weird too that then that game was never talked about again. That's an
well
example
because
of a
it
video game that had this like moment, and then they didn't do anything else with
they
it. So it
released it
just
in the perfect time. At
yeah,
the beginning of the year, they're like, we're gonna slate this at the beginning of the year because the rest of the year is stacked. But if you go through the whole year, any game that was actually well made and people liked, it sold well, right? That's
yeah.
not Diablo sold well. Most of these games that came out during this really high level, this like I would say record setting quality AAA games in one year. Like
Oh, 100%.
so I don't think that when unless they're lying to us about record sales, but
Yeah.
I mean, so that's kind of how I don't think I think now they're all it's a cycle. People get cut, they'll go to new studios, they make new games. People get cut, they go to new studio. You know,
That's true.
it's especially contractors. So, but
Okay, well,
to
to
me,
go back up to Sony. Yeah, take me
yeah,
back to Sony.
yeah. So I just don't think Sony knows. I think they understand where. I mean, look, to look at Microsoft and say they don't have a very very bright future is to not really have any insight. They have a
Wait, did they say
ton.
that?
Well, no, I'm talking about as a company. You have to
Oh,
look at
yeah.
what Microsoft has done in the last 10 years. They have 12 publishers in house, like not 12.
No, they
12,
have
yeah,
more than that, right?
no, 12 publishers and
Oh,
like
oh, oh. Yeah.
30 studios. Like and then you look at Sony and they only have like 4 or 5 and they're not going to be able to outspend Microsoft, right? Like a
Well,
trillion
yeah,
company
right.
trillion company. So they're I think their strategy had to shift and figure out, well, how do we get into the space that has a bunch of money that we
Yeah,
can,
the live service.
leverage to pay for more first party games because again, we talked about this. Their first party games do not sell that well.
Right.
When you have nearly 300 million consoles and you don't sell 30 million copies,
Yeah, what
that's
was the
less
most
than
recent
10%.
one? Let's see what it did. What
Look it
was the
up. I think
most
it's
recent one
God of
was
War.
God of War?
or actually, the most recent exclusive to PlayStation was the Final Fantasy 11.
Well, that's I mean, yeah, but it's like timed exclusive, I think, right?
No, it's exclusive.
Oh,
It's
is
not
it?
coming out to anybody. Yeah.
God of War sold 11 million copies.
11 million copies is a drop in the bucket, dude. Drop
Yeah,
in the bucket.
it's not a
You
lot.
know what I'm saying?
Well, so
Yeah.
this thing says the game. This is in February 2nd of 2023. So I guess it's I don't know. This is old, right? Yeah, very.
Which
Um,
for which one? For
so
which
by
game?
God of War. So the article is the game has officially sold 11 million copies as of early February 2023. Given the game is a PlayStation exclusive, the achievement is even more impressive, is what the article says.
But it's not impressive. Not when your costs are high, right? They're 250 million to 300 million dollars, and you're selling less than 10%. That's if you look at just generally what the numbers are, right? Like these are the games that okay, so like just do it in comparison with Nintendo, right? Nintendo makes a Mario Kart game, sells 35 million copies. Zelda, like I want to see. I'm gonna look it up right now. I want to see how many copies of Zelda was sold, or let's say Mario Kart. Mario Kart
Oh, Mario Kart.
8.
Trying to see what the numbers are up to now for God of War. But
So
that's
you want to hear? Okay, so you want to hear something absolutely bonkers?
oh, here we go. Here we go. 4 days ago, where Switch, PlayStation 5 rank among the best-selling video games consoles of all time. It says blah 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 blah. Despite its massive sales, oh, the PlayStation 4 ended its run with roughly 40 million units sold. By the way,
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, the
just to put out there like what the units are. Uh,
No,
wait,
they had more than 40 million. That was probably the last quarter or last the towards
well,
the end
that's
of its
just
life.
this article is from 2 days ago.
Yeah, but that's not total consoles. There's no way because it's in the hundreds.
Oh well, yeah, that must have been.
Let me just blow your mind.
Oh
Okay.
no, they're saying it ended roughly 40 million units behind its older sibling, so it didn't sell as
Yeah.
well as
Yeah.
PlayStation 2, which sold 159 million. PlayStation 4 sold 117.2 million.
Okay. Right. So that means you have to. So okay. So God of War sold 11 million. Let's just say God of War sold 15 million. Okay. Let's just add another $4 million. But Sony games after the initial release, they do drop because they're single players and a bunch of games come out. Right.
Right.
Mario Kart 8 has sold 63.92 million copies
To date.
to date. Right.
Wow.
So yeah.
That's a
So
lot.
at the beginning of 2023, at the beginning, they were at 53. So they sold an additional 10 million copies this year of a game that can't. So I'm just saying, like Nintendo, Nintendo is able to survive on their own first party games
Right.
because they're well known and they make these multiplayer. Like this one's a multiplayer game, right? Mario Kart. Sony doesn't have that luxury, and Sony's not going to be able to survive on just these games because,
Right.
again, like you look at how many copies. Okay, look at 11 million copies of God of War, right? Which
So
is a
and
very popular
that was
game.
essentially in the first 10 weeks of the game's release. It sold that much.
Okay, so God of War 2023 sales.
Unfortunately, I honestly can't find what the hell it's sold up to date right now, which is interesting. Um, yeah, there's literally nothing on where God of War's at right now. Everybody just talks about the 11 million within 10 weeks. So, and that's worldwide too, by the way.
Yeah, that's a terrible. That's not a good number. Okay.
Man, all these articles
Um,
say it is though. They're like saying it's
well,
impressive.
it's impressive for the first week, but it's not impressive when you compare to games that are like. So I'm just gonna pull
And
up
that
all of
and
the.
just for context too, that is PlayStation's fastest selling game ever.
Yes, because it released on both the
Yeah,
5
on
and
and the
4.
4. Mm-hmm.
Yes. One more for 3.
It looks like as of November 1st, God of War has, that might be the first one past 22, 23 million. I'm not going to be able to find it. So there's nothing, there's no numbers on that first party title.
Okay, so in comparison to God of War, on just this is just PlayStation. Um, Modern Warfare, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, so 30 million copies in the first.
Well, yeah, but that's multi-plat.
No. I'm just talking about 30 million copies on PlayStation.
Oh. Oh my God, really?
I'm looking at the numbers right now. Hold on, let me see.
Holy crap. Horizon Forbidden West cost $212 million to develop. Holy crap. That is so expensive. That's wild.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, again, it's like I couldn't get the exact numbers, but like again, it's 30 plus million copies. I just don't live service games. The reason they're nice, the reason they people want to make them is because once you get somebody involved, they buy stuff, right? That's
Well,
like
right,
that's the
right,
goal.
and then
Make them
I
pay.
know we were looking at things too, but just in case anyone's eyes glazed over, the whole point of this is to get to what Freddie's about to say, and that's we have to remember. Currently, they haven't walked back on it. So right, so Sony's supposed plan is 60% of their games live service, and if you're looking at the numbers, then you can see where Freddie's going with this. Because like, how is that going to provide sales to Sony if they make, even if it's a popular live service game, it's at most going to have 20 million players? Like that's a drop in the bucket.
Well, and it's I think my point is when you have this should have been a project with another team, right? Hey, Sony buys somebody or creates a new team and says, we want a live service game from the ground up. Bungie, come in here and give us give us the foundation of what that looks like, and then we can
Mm-hmm.
build a narrative around it. Instead, I understand the idea of going, hey, we have all these very high quality IPs. Let's convert them into it.
Some sort of live
I
service module. Yeah.
Right, and I like the concept on paper makes sense, but the reality of it is like the reason these games are good is because they have the narrative feel and you have the ability to. It's a movie, right? We talked about
Right. It
this. They
is. It
make
is a
these
movie.
games.
Yeah.
It's a
It's a
movie,
good
and
movie.
you
You're like, oh,
taking
this
that
is an interactive movie.
and making it into a multiplayer is really hard because like
Yeah.
I just I don't even
I
see
mean, did you even
it.
play The Last of Us multiplayer? You know, there's a multiplayer.
I'm
There's a
sure there is.
PvP,
Of course not. No.
and I never
I
played it.
mean, like, I mean, multiplayer is there's too many multiplayers generally, and
Yeah.
people already have their favorites, and you have to break the mold to bring people into something
Right. You got
new.
to shake it up.
Like, yeah. So I just don't think
I mean,
it's
just to
a
put things in even more perspective, this is May of this year, so this isn't too far away. The franchise for Horizon in May had sold 32.7 million units. That's the entire franchise. So that's even including the
yes,
first game. So
yeah. It's
that's
15
not a
million.
very big number when you put that
That's
up
what
against like one Call of Duty game.
Well, it's not even that. It's just like the thing is, Sony has all these consoles that they sold. That's what they preach. We sell these consoles, which they sell for a loss, but the people are not buying their first party games.
Well, yeah, what even is that? Like, I mean, just PlayStation 4 alone, 117 million units, and this is
It has to be
32
more than that,
million.
dude. There's no way that's that number. I think PlayStation 4 sales, PS4.
Well, I mean, let's just say then, let's just put it at 250 million right now for PlayStation 4 and 5. Like, that's what? That's 10%. I hate math, but like that's barely anything percent wise because both Horizon games as well were on both consoles.
So if you just put the two, so PlayStation 4 and 5, right? PlayStation 4 and 5 combined over 200 over 200 million consoles, right?
Right.
So and
And
most of
and
those
the entire
games,
franchise is 32 million copies sold. Like, woof.
well, and they have to account for the fact that the first one only came out for PlayStation 4,
Right.
right? So
Well,
then
it ended
you
up on 5 though. You can play it on 5 now. So
right, but I'm saying combined, it's 30 million out of 200 million consoles.
yeah.
That's a little bit. So like 10% would have been 200 million. So it's a little bit
That's what
higher
I'm
than
saying. That's why I
10%.
don't see how the live 60% live service games. They're gonna run out of money.
Well,
It doesn't make any sense to me. And that's probably
I
why the
just don't.
CEO got tired of traveling. I mean, like,
No, he got let go because they went and sat down and said, "Okay, all your freaking projects are dead, and now we don't have." I'm seriously thinking that he's going to cause a drought for Sony because if
Yeah.
you're pulling these people off these projects, either the quality of the game is gonna drop, or you're gonna be behind a year or two, right? Like,
And
and you don't.
Xbox is going to be going upwards.
Well, yeah, Xbox is planning to do 4 releases a year, and they're gonna be on Game Pass. Like,
Yeah.
if the quality, I think the big thing we've always talked about is the quality of game that
So
Microsoft needs to pull out.
well, yes, but I will also say, because I had a conversation with somebody about this and I thought it was interesting. There's only rumors, game's not out yet, but currently, according to Reddit, some people have gotten their hands on Spider-Man 2, and you can beeline that game in like 12 hours. Like that is disappointing for me. A
Well,
$70 game with
it's
even if it's
30 hours
15.
to complete 30 everything, but 30 hours to complete the entire game.
See, that's just crazy,
Mad.
especially because
Yeah,
it's
it's mad.
two. You got Miles and Spider-Man. Like I would have just assumed base story alone would have been 25. Like, and
Well,
for a
if you look
$70
at,
game, like,
yeah, I mean,
oof.
look at Miles Morales, right? Miles Morales was 10 hours. How much? What was that
Oh,
game?
that was a DLC. It wasn't like its own
Yeah,
game. It was like
but
30
this is.
bucks. But yeah, it was like 8. It's like 6 to 8. It's super short.
I mean, they're gonna sell well. I think
But
it's
so
gonna
my
do okay.
comparison would be Spider-Man 1, which is a great game, and it's 15 to 20, but it's just a Spider-Man story and it's really good. But somehow you're telling me this game's going to be almost shorter than the first game and it's got 2 of them in there. This is just a rumor.
Yeah.
But I mean, if that is true, I'll be
Well, it's
interested
not a
to see
rumor.
what people
The
say.
numbers are all over the place. They said 100% completion of everything, including side missions and everything else, 30 hours.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll be
Which is,
curious to see what people say. So
I just don't. To
that's a
me,
fat bill for I mean,
so for me,
I got 60 hours out of Remnant too. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, that's what I'm saying though. Is that's the whole thing. Is that the stop calling me. So the at the end of the day, like live service games can make you a lot of money,
yeah.
but they can also sink you. And I think
Yes.
Sony, the reason Ryan is no longer there is because
Saw the
he
writing on the wall.
he's done so. No, he was fired. This wasn't him.
Yeah.
This was
No.
him.
I mean, like somebody in Sony was like, "Oh my god, we're about to
Oh
like hemorrhage money."
no, I'm sure Bungie was just like, hey, you just bought us for a bunch of money, and all these projects are dead.
Yeah.
So best of luck. I mean, that's the thing is like, if
Wild.
this could sink. I mean, I won't say sink them because Sony's great, and I think they're gonna do fine.
Yeah.
But if they don't, if all these the 10 that they're working on, they all get scrapped. I mean, they've been working on these games for
Right.
3
Then
years at least.
you've got at
Right?
least a year and a half drought of like trying to figure out what the hell you're gonna do now.
Yeah, and then they're gonna
Well,
have to spend big money like Microsoft did to get these
yeah.
exclusive deals.
To get
right?
which is what they're doing. They're looking
Yeah.
for them, which is interesting. If you look at it like, well, look on paper, now they're hunting for third-party titles they can make exclusive, which is usually a sign because you can see it from the FTC trial because that's what Phil Spencer did. He was like, we are about to hit a horrible drought. What can we purchase here? So we have like some exclusives. So
yeah, I think we'll see. I mean, then
we will. We will.
There's going to be a later leadership change for sure.
This might have been a little bit different of a podcast, y'all, because it was just one thing, and it sounds like we're dogging on Sony, but I think it was just an important thing to discuss.
We're not talking anybody. You know, things happen, and there's a reason. I mean, he retired, but it's like he wasn't planning on retiring. That's a thing that Jim Ryan is planning to retire at the end of the year, not abruptly in the middle of
in the fiscal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
like, okay.
I think it's important to talk about because we've been touching on live service for forever, especially as dads and what that means. And we'll get into that in the next one for sure. This is going to be a shorter one. We both have meetings and things to do today, but I'm happy we were able to sneak this in and just start bringing this conversation on live service gaming. It's like it's literally where the future of where people want to go, and we've talked about how that's because of where the popularity of mobile games and these battle passes and what all this stuff kind of means. So it's always good to hear from the industry vet here who keeps up with all of this, Sir Freddie. Because I don't. He always just calls me. He's like, "Dude, did you see what Sony did?" And I'm like, "Oh God, now what?"
I mean, it's a big deal. Jim Ryan has been very. I mean, he has cultivated.
He's had a success story. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think it's just the end of this. He put his bets on the wrong horse.
Yeah, that's why it's so weird, and that's why I wanted to talk about it because I'm like a guy who has taken Sony to new heights. All of a sudden, it's just like, yeah, I'm leaving. It's like, oh, okay, this is weird.
Yeah, I mean, the retirement. Nobody bought the retirement thing. This was the company saying, We're gonna have to. Here you go. Here's a golden parachute. Get out of here. We
Yeah.
have to fix this.
Yep.
So, anyways,
All right, dude.
it was great doing this. Sorry guys for that small hiatus.
Yes.
We'll be back on top of it.
We will be back. And Thomas has said he will schedule with us, so we might actually get a guest on here.
I will believe it when I hear it with my own ears. If we don't get Thomas, I might bring my buddy on to talk about he's been crushing. I mean, he's like 100 hours into Starfield.
Oh, I'd love to hear that.
I would want to hear what the thoughts are, because it's not his type of game. But he's just like, he went in and just went head in.
And next week too, y'all, we're gonna kick it off by diving right into Modern Warfare 3. I know that all of that was just released yesterday. A whole bunch of info came out, so I'm super excited to sit with Freddie here and talk about that, because I'm a wish-wash Call of Duty guy, so I can't wait to hear what he has to say about my excitement for the third game.
You're always excited. You're like one of those people like, oh my god, it's the best.
It looks good. It looks good, but this will be saved for next time. So everybody have a wonderful time.
Please.
Yes.
Subscribe. Follow. Review.
Give kisses.
Comment.
And
kisses, hugs.
And hugs. Until next time.
All right, guys. Until next time.
Later.
See ya.